going to be talking about episode 3, or is it just going to be?
We are live. We are
All
live.
right,
Yep,
awesome.
we are live. Hopefully they can hear you.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right, guys. Welcome to episode 26. I think. Very impromptu. Obviously, you can see by the graphics. It's a little funky. Yeah. You may notice something different. Bill is not with us today. He will hopefully be in chat. We brought in Jordan. How you doing tonight, Jordan?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Hope everybody else is doing well too.
Yep. Yeah. So, Jordan's here to fill in for Bill while he's off world, slacking his Trek Live duties. But yeah, we're here to talk about Discovery episode 3. So, yep.
Well, I guess you just dive right into it, right?
Sure.
I'll let you go first. What you think about
Well-
episode 3? Context is for kings.
Before we jump into episode 3, I would actually love, not to flip it back on you, but I would love to hear your just overall thoughts on Discovery so far, since you weren't here. You were in chat, but you weren't here for episode 1 and 2.
Yeah. So far, I mean, we've essentially had 2 pilots so far, where we had, okay, this is the first Star Trek we've seen in 10 whatever it was years, and now we're coming into it and we're saying, okay, this is neat, but I didn't personally feel that the pilot felt really Star Trekky. It was definitely interesting and it felt sci-fi, but it didn't have like a clear stamp on it that made me say, okay, yeah, this is Trek. But then episode 3, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like this is what a modern Star Trek would look like. This is what it would feel like. This is how the characters would interact. It was an interesting situation. Visually, it looked interesting. So after the first 2, I was kind of, but after seeing episode 3, like, I'm really very, very much on board.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of a lot of people felt. And for me, I was just kind of overwhelmed, kind of at first. And then this third episode was like, yep, this is Trek for sure. But yeah, I don't know, my thoughts. I guess we can kind of dive into kind of episode 3. I definitely liked episode 3 more than I liked episode 1 and 2. Like you said, it felt like a pilot that felt like a Star Trek pilot. So I'm kind of glad we got that, because there was definitely almost as much pressure on episode 3 as was on episode 1 and 2. So I'm glad they went the direction they did. Yeah, so my overall thoughts on episode 3 are positive. We can get into some details, but I'd love to hear your just elevator pitch thoughts on episode 3.
Elevator pitch thoughts. It had a better sense of almost a little bit of dark humor in a way.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of interesting. I mean, I was flabbergasted in the very beginning when they were on the shuttle, and it's like, okay, you know, you've got to go out and fix something. It's like you hear them joking on the comm system, and then she goes outside, and it's like, all of a sudden you just see her floating past. I was like, that was interesting. I understand what they were going for, and it set up for a really cool reveal of the Discovery. But I just thought that was really funny. I was like, goes out to fix something and just gets sucked away into space. That was something that I wasn't expecting. And also, it had a lot more Star Trek-y vibes. It felt like a lot of the updated shots where it's like, okay, now we can do this really intricate fly around the ship camera move and then come in through the bridge like on the JJ movies.
Mm-hmm.
But then they also, okay, we've got a big thing, some sort of big alien. How do we show that it means business? We'll throw in a couple Klingons, because we all know how tough a Klingon is. And I thought that was kind of quaint. And then, this ship is derelict and it's been messed up because of a scientific experiment. It just happens to be a ship that looks identical to the Discovery, so that way you don't have to go design a new ship and all this other stuff. And it was interesting, and it kind of felt like coming home in a way, sort of like on the Orville, except for this is actually Star Trek.
Yeah.
So it felt kind of like, oh yeah, I remember this, and I accepted it and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I'd like to talk about like the shuttle scene before just maybe go just along. But the shuttle scene, like, you see, like, this transformation of Michael Burnham. Like, she was this, one of the best Starfleet officers, and now it's totally, like, a 360. Now I almost got the sense that she didn't care if, like, she died and all the, like, electrical bugs, like, sucked out all the, the power and stuff. So I'm just interested in that just transformation is so, crazy, I guess, so drastic.
Yeah, and I also found it interesting that, we don't know, but how people see her. Mm-hmm. I'd assume not a lot of people who would specifically go through the details and read about what happened, and I know that some of the people on the Discovery were there, so they saw what she did and how it had affected her. So it was really interesting to see how everybody looked at her and perceived whether they were there or not. I'm sure some people said, okay, she attacked her captain and then got her captain killed, but they don't know specifically what happened. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting to see, okay, do the people who were there have a little bit different of an opinion? Like, look at Lorca, where he looks at her and he says, you did the right thing. Yeah. Essentially. And so it's interesting to look at that and say, okay, these people who, those other people who were scum, looking down on somebody who, was more honorable than them, and had actual reasons to it. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like the flip side of Kirk, in a way. Where it's like, okay, he steals the Enterprise and destroys it, but then he saves the day, so it's all fine. Yeah. Whereas in this case, okay, she tried to do the right thing, but it just went all downhill, and there was nothing else that she could do. There was no whale probe to pull her out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool to see the perfect Starfleet officer. We're taking this journey with a not so perfect Starfleet officer. So it's going to be interesting to see where they take that and stuff. But after the shuttle scene, we get that beauty shot of the Discovery. Jordan, what do you think of the Discovery as a ship, the shuttle bay, all the look of the ship? What do you think of it?
I think it looks absolutely amazing. It was really interesting when they first released that promo of the bridge. And you're looking at everything, and you saw that a lot of the displays then had the shorter nacelles. And so I assumed, okay, that must have been from very early on in production. And then later they lengthened it out. And I saw in some of the displays in engineering that it was like the way the graphic was set up, it was for the Discovery to have the short nacelles, but then they made it longer so the nacelles just ran off the end and weren't there.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they changed the ship a little bit, like they did in Beyond, to suit the story in a way. And
Yeah.
so I've never had that where it's like you look at a ship and it's like, what is it there for? Like normally you look and it's like, okay, you know everything about it up front, more or less.
And I think like it's been like on Twitter, like I saw some pictures of comparing, like, kind of in the summer when they released promos and stuff, like the visuals, and then the visuals now once they got released, and they're like just different and stuff. So I think it's more polished, but like you said, there's some other stuff that they maybe forgot or just tried to get in there to polish, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And I find it interesting. There was one graphic, I forget where it was, but it had, there's a cutout, there's negative space in the saucer, and this graphic had like arrows in it, as if it was like some sort of swirl in there.
Hmm.
So I think that's really neat that I'd assume at least, they're trying to incorporate specific things into the way the ship is built. So it makes sense that, okay, this ship was, I believe it would be older than the Constitution, or the newer than the Constitution class, but it's got a much more specific purpose.
Yeah. Yep.
And that kind of thing. So it's really neat to see like such a purpose-built ship.
Yep. Yeah, for me, I love the outside. Like I got goosebumps when I was doing the money shots, the pans over the hole and stuff, and you could see um, the paint and stuff. It just looked great. So inside, it kind of felt a little dark, which I think is like kind of like a metaphor for kind of the ship and stuff like that. It almost felt like Battlestar Galactica-esque, which I'm a big fan of. But as a whole, I like the Discovery as a ship, I guess. So
Yeah. What I thought was kind of funny when initially Michael Burnham goes into her quarters with Cadet Tilly. And I was looking at the set, and I was like, okay, it's neat. Like, you can see it slanted, like on the Enterprise D, so you can say, okay, this is somewhere on the outer edge of the saucer because of the way the room is shaped. But I was looking at all, like, the piping on the outsides, and I was like, there are so many lights in that room.
Yeah.
And it was so bright. And then when Tilly walks in, she says, lights on.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, you couldn't sleep in that room because it's so bright, and that's what the lights are. I was like, that's a bright room. There are lights all over the place.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, Adam's saying that he's not sure how he feels about the saucer cutout. What do you think of the saucer cutout?
I know the Discovery was designed. I mean, initially it was designed for Star Trek: Planet of the Titans before the motion picture. At least that general design by Ralph McQuarrie. And I know that John Eaves did a little bit of work on it. And I love the overall design. It still looks kind of funky from certain angles, but I mean, the Galaxy class, my favorite, looks really weird directly from the back. And the Discovery looks kind of weird directly from the front. It just looks a little bit weird, but I mean, that's just, give and take. I love the way it looks overall.
Yeah.
And the first thing I thought of when I saw the saucer cutouts was, first, okay, yeah, it's kind of weird, but, I got over it, and I kind of rationaled it as it reduces the mass of the saucer. So you can push things further out, so it's like if you've got a bunch of dangerous experiments, you want them far from other parts of the ship. So you can have experiments in this outer ring, and then you can have the inner ring where the personnel are.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's tactical, so that way it reduces the mass of the saucer. It can move around faster, or something. But as long as it has some sort of functional purpose, it doesn't bother me as much as just, okay, it's just there to be there. It seems more dangerous where you have more weak points in a ship. But
yeah, I'm definitely a fan of it, especially if it has a specific purpose. Like, I love those little intricate details that just kind of fill in the universe. So, hope that has a purpose. If not, I can deal with it. So, yeah. So now we're kind of transitioning. Spoiler alert: this is gonna be full of spoilers. So if you guys haven't watched it, definitely go watch it. But we kind of move into what do you think of the cafeteria? I want to talk about the cafeteria scene in general.
The first thing I saw I saw a row of glass panes, and I've only seen the episode once, but I know I saw the Shenzhou on one of them, or at least that Walker class. So I didn't.
Yeah,
know
I think
what was.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was. I'll have to watch it again too because I've only watched it once. But I think it was just like a little snippet of the. I don't know if it was a Shenzhou in specifically, but I think you're right.
Because the first thing I thought of was either it's the same kind of thing you see on the Enterprise D, where it's like a dedication plaques of ships that have had the name Discovery, but I feel like
Hmm.
that would be too soon.
Yeah.
And so then I thought maybe it's something to commemorate the ships that were lost.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like, Deep Space Nine, you have the personnel roster of people come up who are deceased now.
Yeah.
Like, you have these ships, like, this is who we're fighting for, this is what happens. And it's kind of like, okay, you're eating and you're together, and it's, okay, this is why we're here, this is why we're doing what we're doing, even though what we're doing is kind of shady.
I think that's a great point because there is a lot of the crew is from the Sinjao, so I think it makes them kind of feel at home a little bit. Yeah, Adam's saying it reminds me of Voyager's mess hall. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
pretty long. But yeah, that fight scene with the with Burnham and the other inmates, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, she was definitely looking to
Yeah.
get a little action, get back at them.
Very creative use of a lunch tray, I guess.
That Vulcan martial arts.
Yeah.
And of course that won her a meeting with the captain, so
Yeah.
must have done well to impress the chief of security there.
Yeah. Um, that's kind of a good transition. What do you think of Lorca, Captain Lorca?
I definitely, I mean, he's got to be that Garth of Vizar kind of. Okay, there's something there's got to be something there,
Yeah.
because he definitely seems like he sees himself as a king. Context is for kings. He sees himself as he's the master of his domain, and the war has given him what he's always wanted, which is essentially free reign. And so he's out there doing whatever he wants to do, and he's incredibly mysterious, and he's got some sort of a backstory where he's gone through something's gone on with his eyes, so he's been in some sort of conflict or something, and you just don't know a lot about him, and he seems somebody who's dangerous but also very intelligent.
Mhm. Yeah, and
So definitely
I love those
yeah.
little details about his eyes and about the fortune cookies and like his lair on the lower decks, and it's just so I love Lorca. I think um, he's gonna be one of those characters that I don't know, could be it's like Ducat-esque where sometimes he's bad, sometimes he's good, like it's hard to trust him. I think him as a captain is makes me nervous, but also it's like I feel like Starfleet needs him as a it's like they don't want it.
Mhm.
How do I put it?
Like a
It's,
necessary evil.
yeah, exactly. It's like they don't Starfleet doesn't want him as a captain, but they need him as a captain, if that makes any sense.
Mm.
Because of the nature of the relationship with the Klingons and the Klingon War and stuff. So I think, I think I'm gonna like Lorca as a character.
Yeah, I definitely there's a lot there,
Yeah.
and that's the best thing, is that there's a lot there. And he seems very human, but he also feels like he's there to toy, and he's got his own motives, and he's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna, like, when they first met with Burnham, he kind of set up the stage and wanted to see how she was gonna react.
Mhm.
So she kind of went through and said, okay, you want me because I'm this and that, and I have this, and he's like, okay, well, you're right here, you're wrong here, and so it's like he's almost testing her, and it's kind of like that verbal jousting
Mhm.
in a way where it's like, everything you say is very specific and has a specific purpose.
Yeah.
And so it's like it really makes you pay attention to every single word that's going on, which is what you want. You want it to be riveting in that way.
He has a lot of depth as a character. He's got little
Mhm.
intricacies that you could explore, which I think will make for a good captain. I hope.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, if he doesn't make a good captain, we always have a pretty good first officer to take
yeah.
over.
Yep. Yeah.
What did you think of SARU, so Saru, Lieutenant, or First Officer Saru, and Michael Burnham's interactions?
Um, he definitely roasted her a couple times, which I was like, you know what, he deserves to do that. I think. Definitely made me laugh when he would roast her. I put her on blast, so to speak, as the new kid or the young generation are saying.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I like him. I think his species is very interesting, and I'm curious to see how they explore his like abilities, his spidey senses, so to speak. So yeah, I definitely liked him. I like Doug Jones as an actor. He's pretty good. He plays an alien pretty well. So I think they have the right person. Um, I'm just really curious about like his species and how he's gonna play a role in Discovery.
Yeah, I really liked the interaction. It felt like somebody who would, okay, he's had some time to sort of get over the bitterness. So he's moved on, and he's kind of he's upset that Giorgio died, but it's actually been a benefit to his career in a way.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely probably wouldn't be a first officer if Burnham hadn't done it. So I'm sure in the back of his mind he's acknowledged that, but at the same time, what she did was completely wrong,
Yeah.
and something that you can't really come back from. And I do really like Doug Jones. I liked him a lot in the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I liked how really subtle it was with how subtle his acting was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the only problem I really see is his design is great, but his talking is just kind of like his mouth just kind of like flaps a little bit.
Yeah.
And so you see, he really has to struggle to kind of act under all of that. And his eyes are great; you get a lot of expression there.
Yeah.
But when it's talking, it's kind of like, okay, this is a big rubber thing over top of his lips.
Yeah.
So that's something that, I mean, I guess the more you overthink the plumbing, the easier it is to stop up the drain,
Yeah.
as Scotty would say. Where it's a really great design, but the more and more you add to it, the harder it is for the actor to act
Mm-hmm.
through it. But I mean, I still got a lot of subtleties from the pilot with him, so I don't feel like it's too much of a worry.
Yeah.
It was just something that I noticed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bill saying that I like Lorca's mystery is refreshing. Yeah, I think just with Discovery as a whole, it's so mysterious, and I think that's so refreshing, like you said, Bill, because Trek is so familiar when we know what was going to happen. We don't know how it's going to happen, but we know like the crew is going to get back to the ship. But now it's like in Discovery, it's like, well, no, you don't know. There's a lot of mystery behind it, so definitely digging the mystery. I know some people aren't too big, like there's too much going on and too much questions. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I really agree with Adam that he's really kind of a chaotic good, where he's definitely unpredictable, and you don't know what he's going to do. But as long as you're on his side, you can rest easier.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're on the USS Glenn, because then you'll get morphed around.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, the Hooves was definitely an interesting take, and also making them so tall, because then it makes sense. Okay, why is everything on the Discovery so big? Well, they're aliens in Starfleet, so you have to cater to everybody.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense, and it also makes some of the design aesthetic make a little bit more sense. Where, okay, this has to be not only kind of bland in a way that everybody who's human can use it, but if you're from a different race,
Yeah.
you can use it as well.
Yep. Jordan, did you buy the kind of sci-fi Babel, so to speak, Voyager-esque special drive? They're trying to...
The space rooms.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and get a major in astromycology myself to really be able to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I have absolutely no clue what biology and physics are the same at a fundamental cellular level. I have no clue what's going on there. I hope it's something that will be explained. I really got the vibe from Stamets that it was kind of like, I'm so beyond all of this. I don't really care. I'll just fill you in because whatever, we have time to burn.
Yeah, he kind of feels stuck up, kind of.
Yeah, so the dialogue didn't feel too much like it was exposition letting you know what's going on.
Yeah.
It felt more genuine in that way. But when Lorca and Burnham did the site-to-site transport, and she was in that little chamber, I didn't quite understand what was going on. I didn't know if she was still there and seeing that, or she was like physically being moved around. But I've seen some places refer to that as that could be how the Iconian gates worked.
Yeah.
Where you were able to instantly transport around or something like that. And I definitely see how, that's something that would be great, in an exploration sense, And then in a wartime sense, that's exactly the kind of thing you'd want to be able to send however many ships you want to anywhere, have it be there instantly, and have it leave instantly.
Yeah.
So I like that it had a little bit of that Genesis Project vibe, where this is something that in peacetime is something that's incredibly valuable, but in wartime also has its place.
Yeah. And like I definitely appreciated the sci-fi Babel, being like a fan of Voyager, but I find it difficult to kind of wrap my head around because we we don't use this technology in the future, so it makes me wonder like what's gonna happen to the Discovery, and like are we gonna is this just a wasted ship because we can't make this drive work, or I don't know what's gonna happen. But when she was traveling, when Burnham was traveling, I don't know if she was traveling or I don't know. I got it as she was like traveling to those places. Like there was some hit, like little Easter eggs of TOS and other places. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah, it was a really really quick introduction. Just trying to show, okay, this is sort of what's going on, but it's like, what? Huh? How does that exactly work?
Yeah.
It's like she's in this chamber. Who's what?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what's going on. But I mean, it's definitely one of those things where, okay, I'm interested to see how it pans out.
Mhm.
And when they started writing it, they knew it didn't exist in TOS.
Yeah.
So I know that they probably started with, okay, we're going to introduce this, and this is how it's going to end.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a virus that's introduced that kills all of it. Maybe it's just deemed too dangerous and it doesn't work, or that kind of thing.
Obviously, because Glenn's
So,
already one casualty.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it seemed insane. He said that they were going from somewhere to the Beta Quadrant and back in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
I mean, that's like intergalactic travel,
Yeah.
viable kind of stuff.
It's
So
gonna
that's
be.
a huge deal.
Yeah, it's gonna be. It's kind of like Voyager, when Tom Paris is. I don't know if you've seen this episode, but I think it's Threshold, where he breaks the blood
Yeah.
barrier.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone goes back into, they de-evolve.
Yeah.
Becomes a lizard.
Yeah. So.
But it's definitely a sufficient hook,
Yeah.
I'd say, which I
Yeah.
think is really what it wanted to be.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Bill, yeah, I think so. Maybe down the road.
That'll be quite something to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. One thing I found funny, when they were on the Glen, two things I want to make. I found it hilarious. Why did the Klingon shush them? Like, would a Klingon actually shush them? Like, I don't know. That seems a little bit funky. The second thing, there was a lot of symbolism, even just with the whole episode with Alice in Wonderland, and I love that. Especially TOS had a lot of Shakespeare in it, so I find that that's so cool that the writers and the producers kind of integrated kind of literature interwoven into Discovery. I found that pretty cool. So.
Yeah, I felt that was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
And to respond to Bill, were you guys surprised to see so little of the Klingons in this one? I was surprised to see them at all. It was the same kind of thing with Worf, where it's like, all right, we've got a big bad guy. We all know how tough Worf is, so why don't we show him in there? And he gets beaten up by a 102-year-old admiral, so we know this guy means business, or that kind of thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. You come up and you see a Bat'leth, and you see a pile of them, and I did think it was kind of weird when he shushed them. But I assumed, I don't know how long the Klingons had been there. I assumed maybe it was a day, and he was like, trying to go into his hunting. And it was like, oh, you guys all came, you kind of ruined to be quiet, and it's like a horror movie, gets sucked away and mutilated or whatever. So it was an interesting horror episode, kind of alien-y.
Yeah. Yep.
But it was a little bit out of character. You thought he would have just come out Bat'leth swinging.
Yep.
Trying to take him down.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that there was a little less Klingon in this episode, because I feel like the pilot was so heavy Klingon. I'm kind of glad they didn't go in the Klingon direction. I mean, I love Klingons. Like, I don't mind seeing Klingons, but I think it was good that they kind of pulled the reins back a little bit on the Klingons.
And it looks like they'll be present in the next episode. Looking at the little sting at the end.
Yeah.
So I mean, they'll be back in full force. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, Bill, I think you're right. I think the Klingons are kind of here to stay, if I'm, for sure.
Yeah, if you didn't like that design, then they're just going to shove it in your face every episode just to remind you.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I was talking to Bill a little earlier. I really enjoyed the visuals and the colors. Were they like a nebula at the beginning?
It was like a
that?
blue thing.
Yeah, it was like some blue purple thing, and then
Yeah.
I assume the Discovery came to it and then like pulled it out of it
Yeah.
with the tractor beams. But
Yeah.
something that I noticed that could get kind of tiresome is, in the JJ movies, they do you start at the back of the ship, and then you come in and you swoop around, and then you come in through the bridge and you focus in on the captain or whoever, and then they do their thing on the bridge set.
Oh, yeah. There was
And
definitely, like, establishing shots.
Yeah, not necessarily establishing shot, but it was the same type where it's like swoops around the top of the saucer and then comes in through the front screen.
Yeah.
I was like, it's a neat shot, but we've seen it before, and you can't do it. Like, if you do it twice every episode, that'll get kind of repetitive. I mean, you just gotta pull out and just let the ship fly by or something like that, so you can really get a good sense of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, okay, this is it, and this is it in all its glory, and it's super big.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've always kind of bemoaned in the new movies, where it's always so tight. And I understand that, you've got a camera and a 3D model, so you can move it around however close you want.
Yeah.
But I always appreciate being able to kind of come back and just take in the entire size of it.
Yeah.
And say, okay, this is how big it is, and this is how it all kind of works out. And then I can look and say, what's that blue grilling next to the deflector on the wedges of the secondary hull? Like, what's going on there, and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And my response to that too is probably the bigger, wider shots are a little bit more expensive to create. Also, I'm curious to see how they reuse shots, because I don't know. Just thinking back to some of the shows, they definitely reuse some of the visuals, especially in Voyager, a little bit. And I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna do just little different shots, or I'm just curious to see what happens, because in kind of the past, the shows, the reason why they reused shots, the visual shots, was because it was expensive to make back then. But now it's like evidently like they have this unlimited budget where, there's sets are huge.
Yeah, they can blow however much money they want in the Klingon torchbearer for it to get killed in 3 seconds and you never see any of it.
Yeah.
And they make such a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
Bill's asking about Tilly. What do we think, if she was endearing or annoying?
I like Tilly. I think she is a relatable character. I think she has great potential. I think she has, I don't know. I found her interesting, and I think a little annoying. I think they want that because they kind of want to see how kind of Burnham kind of handles that. So yeah, it should be fun. I like Tilly. What do you think? Do you like Tilly, Jordan?
Yeah, she was. So I definitely saw, and I was like, okay, this is like kind of the point of the character, like that kind of thing, where it's like somebody who's really green, but they're kind of not all there. Like you look like at a Tom Paris, where it's like, okay, they've got like some sort of a story, and they're a little bit young, what he was supposed to do, and he's got like a redemption arc there, or something like that, or like a Wesley was like, okay, they're a young character, they're kind of doing their thing. So it's like you see like what the character is, or like what they're trying to do, and how that interaction is supposed to play. But it was just, I forget one, and I have to go back and rewatch it, but there was one part where I just started kind of like, okay, like this is getting a bit, like I understand this is that, and you're just talking, and the point of this is that, oh, you talk too much and you're nervous. But it was just kind of like, all right.
Yeah, when she's on the shuttle, I think.
Yeah, I was just kind
maybe.
of like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just looking at it as the point of this isn't what she's saying. It's okay, she's nervous and she doesn't do this a lot, but then it makes me think she's on what's most likely a Section 31 ship, and she's a cadet, which
Yeah.
means that she must be very good. And she gets her own isolated room on the ship, but then it just felt kind of weird. Like I understand like the Enterprise where it's like, oh, I'm super good, and in order to be good enough to get here, I kind of had to be uptight, so I don't know how to interact with people.
Mhm.
But in this kind of context, I was like, Lorca must have handpicked her. I assume he handpicked pretty much everybody on that ship because they're all there doing unique, specific things,
Yeah.
more or less. And I just found it kind of weird that she was still kind of starting to learn that. But I mean, I've seen her for what 48 minutes,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Yeah. Bill saying that they kind of trying to achieve what they did with Bashir early on in DS9 and Harry Kim, raw, young, wide-eyed, eager. Yeah, I think that's what they're definitely trying to go for. It's hard to kind of decide, and this is kind of maybe just the structure of how the episode goes, but it's not. It's hard to kind of put, and this is kind of like, I don't know, maybe my opinion, but it's hard to determine who's like the main cast. Like previous shows, they were all on the bridge. That was kind of the main cast, or they were in engineering. But now it's like it's different, and I think that's what's cool about Discovery is that we don't know, and there's so many main characters in kind of different parts of the ship that it makes it feel not like any other Star Trek we've ever seen. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after
Yeah.
this episode, I definitely got the sense that Burnham is the focus,
Mm-hmm.
but there's still a lot more going on.
Yeah.
Like the pilot was more or less exclusively from her perspective.
Yeah.
There wasn't any, okay, Giorgio is like sitting there by herself thinking about something and this about her. It was more like this is all about Michael Burnham. And here we're able to see, okay, this is what Lorca does that Burnham doesn't know, and we're learning something about them, and it felt a little bit more typical, but there was still like a focus of the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So it's definitely something new and interesting.
yeah, I think it's gonna take me a few episodes to kind of nail down. Okay, um, this person's here, this person's there. We don't know anyone from like, we don't know anyone on the bridge. Like it's kind of cool to see characters that aren't just stuck on the bridge the whole time. They're in their quarters. They're in Lorca's down in his lair. Down on deck, lower decks. So definitely cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and it also it gives you a sense of who everybody is and what they do, and you step out onto the bridge, but you don't kind of unless you already know where things are for Star Trek, but you don't really know who's where and who's doing what,
Yeah.
and like what every station is. And it seemed to me that he doesn't even really like to be on the bridge. So I'm sure it's a big deal when he comes out of his quarters or out of his ready room onto the bridge. It's like, oh, this is a big deal. Something's going on here because normally he never does this.
Yeah.
So but I mean, it's something to get used to. I'm sure. I mean, they have obviously this is a very story driven. So they have a specific story they want to tell with specific characters, and I'm sure, maybe that's in the episodes they added. It'll be a little bit more slice of life. Where it's like, okay, this is an average day, and they're just going about doing their things.
Yeah.
And there'll be a little bit more room to breathe, as opposed to kind of a constant sense of moving around, got to do this, got to go there. Because this was only a 48-minute episode, which I found kind of interesting. I felt that they would have, maybe added, a little bit more to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of one of the downsides of this. It's on CBS All Access, so it's streaming, but it's on broadcast TV. In Canada, I think.
So they have
or something like that.
They have
so
restrictions, but no restrictions, kind of.
Yeah, and then they also have built-in commercial breaks. So the structure of it is like typical Star Trek. So it doesn't feel like an hour of something that you can stream and watch. It feels kind of like, okay, this has got to be a show where things have to move quickly.
Yeah, there's like.
That was something I really. Yeah, that's something I really picked up on when I went back and I watched I watched a TOS episode, I forget which one, and it really felt like you were watching people go about their day.
Okay.
and it was really interesting because you got to see a lot of character interactions when they aren't having to do something, and
Yeah.
I hope that's something that we'll get to see a little bit more of.
Yeah. Yep. Um, yeah. I don't, did you catch anything in particular in Lorca's lair? I'm calling it.
Um, I didn't see anything because there was so much going on, and I watched it like at 12:30 last night.
Yeah.
So I was really trying to blow through it and then go to sleep so I
Yeah.
could get up early in the morning.
So I think, I don't know. They kind of talked about this on After Trek, but there's a Gorn skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's one of my favorite TOS episodes is Arena. I think.
Arena.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's like, wait. The first time we seen the Gorn, this is when I was watching this. I was like, wait, Arena was the first time we saw the Gorn. Has Lorca just has this weird past, and like I don't know, it was weird. That how
I mean, I'm sure he could get access to things in
Yeah.
some way. You know what I mean? Because I know I was on the Star Trek subreddit, and that very first kind of weird animal-looking thing at like the corner of the desk
yeah.
in the foreground is a Cardassian something. It was in Deep Space Nine.
Oh, it was like a
It's-
vole or something like that.
Yeah,
I can't remember what they're
Cardassian vole,
called.
yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's kind of like, okay, he goes out and he knows people or something, and he's able to get these cool little things, and he's like, hey, this is basically a dinosaur. Like, this is interesting.
Yeah. So he's
Let's take this.
yeah, he's kind of like a collector because he what I thought was cool about his ready room, he has a tribble.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a tribble and he has a standing desk.
Yeah.
So he's all business in there,
Yeah.
except for the tribble.
Yeah. And the cookies. Yeah, but the standing desk, like, is like, okay, I feel like this guy's powerful. He's not sitting down. He's not below the characters. He's like above them. Like that's where, like you said, like you got the king vibe from him, so to speak.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was funny when I was looking at the fortune cookies. I would assume if he had a business, he knows how to make them, and I
Yeah.
assume he makes them from scratch. So I'd love to see him in his quarters, just like rolling the dough,
Just
and like he's got a little
folding them.
oven. He puts them on the sheet, and then he like prints out all the things, and he puts them inside and bakes it.
He's in there
He's like,
writing
dude.
the fortunes as well. Just
Yeah, he's got a little apron on. He's like, I got the do not disturb. The entire thing is locked down, so nobody can see him.
Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely gonna be one of my favorite characters, I think.
Yeah, I see him as Cisco from In the Pale Moonlight, but all the time.
Yeah.
So it's somebody who, from the beginning, he never really cared about the hardcore Federation values,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm sure he's somebody who grew up reading about Archer and the Xindi, and knowing, okay, like these things do happen, and we can perish if we're not aggressive. So why not just be aggressive up front?
Yeah. Because
So, and he has.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say he hasn't had people like Picard, who are out there, or people like Kirk who show you like you can do both. You can be the diplomat and the warrior at the same time. Like he
Yeah.
just kind of looks at it and says, we're just there to win, because if we don't, we can all die. And what is there to gain if you're not?
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at season 3 Archer, it's like, whoa, he went. Have you seen any of season 3 of Enterprise?
Yeah, so I've seen all
Okay.
season 3.
Isn't season 3 Archer super dark and almost
Yeah, he was willing
a
to
different
blow
captain?
somebody out of an airlock.
Yeah, and he like stranded those people with he stole like like an injector or something from a kind of defenseless ship and left them stranded, and it was just it was crazy.
Yeah, and that was a parallel on when they first went into the. I forget what it's called, the Expanse, the Delphic Expanse, the space distortion zone. Somebody tried to do that to them,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's kind of like, okay, we've now become.
They've come full circle almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so you have people now who are coming up reading about that, and they're just saying, yeah, why not? I mean, it's us or them, and if it's a 50-50, it's going to be us.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Adam. It was a warp coil. But yeah, you just see the lengths that Archer is willing to go. Not to go into tangent about season 3, but yeah, it was just crazy to see him like that.
Bill asks, did Stamets' vibe work for you guys? Room for likability or just a douche?
Um, I don't think he's a douche per se, but I think, and we gotta remember that he just kind of lost his best friend and colleague that time, and also I think he cares so much about this project that like this is kind of his baby, and there's definitely I'm really excited to see that kind of tension between Captain Lorca and him. Already they had some great moments in there, so definitely excited.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's. I mean, I don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. If anybody else has, I'd love to talk to them.
Yeah.
But I got the sense that I know he has a relationship with Tyler Ash. I think he's like a prisoner of war who I assume comes in next episode.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at that and saying, okay, maybe he's kind of overworked because he's just there by himself, and then once he has like a companion, then he'll kind of mellow out.
Yeah.
I got a sense that might be what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'd be mad too if I was working on something for how long, and then there's a war, and the Federation goes and says, "Oh, by the way, you have to do this,
Yeah.
and we're going to use your stuff for whatever." And then you have a captain who's telling you, "Oh, by the way, we're going to do this and this and that," and he's taking all the credit and doing all this crazy stuff, and you're just there working, and you're separated from what you wanted to do. I mean, it made sense why he was mad.
Yeah.
It wasn't just kind of a "I don't like what you're doing" type of thing.
Adam makes a great point. And so does Bill. Adam says he was stressed and overworked. Yes, definitely got that. And Bill says, and he hates what the project is being used for. Yeah, I think it's definitely kind of commentary on stuff like initially like a breakthrough could be used for like health reasons and stuff like that, but also at the same time it could be used for deadly warfare stuff. So it kind of reminded me of that whole deal. So I totally get why he's acts the way he does for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as long as there's a quantifiable reason that's professional for there to be drama, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it shouldn't just be okay, I want to do this, you want to do that. Well, I don't agree with you. It's like that can't always be it.
Yeah.
Because it's not a democracy. But if it's like, I want to, we're going to start pushing what we're doing faster. It's like you just saw my friend and the entire other ship that was just like us get destroyed.
Yeah.
So I think we need to cool it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely see there being some tension from that because it's a little bit more professional for there to be disagreement. Yeah. And it's like coming from my background, I say this. It's not just I don't think this is the right thing.
Yeah. And there was some more king symbolism for you when Lorca's like, this isn't a democracy. So I thought that was kind of cool that they passed that in there. Bill's asking about our watch habits.
Yeah, you can answer first.
I have not. Like, Discovery has just taken over everything, and also another show that I watched just came back on, but that's kind of just on the side. It's just like I don't even want to. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if I should watch Enterprise or. I could give my thoughts on season 3, but it's like, is it warranted? Because like I feel like it's Discovery time and Discovery just taking over. But at the same time, I don't want to be like, okay, I don't want people to get tired of talking about Discovery. So maybe I'll do something where I talk about season 3. Yeah. What about you, Gordon?
I'd have to say for me, I've been, I'm sure you guys wouldn't remember, but I very much remember when Hurricane Irma came through.
Mm-hmm.
Lost power for a week, so I've been struggling to stay afloat because all my assignments for university have been doubled or tripled up.
Yeah.
So I really haven't had a lot of time.
Yeah.
to watch this. I mean, I barely had time to watch Discovery. Like, I knew I was going to do this, and I said if I don't watch it last night at 12:30, I'm not going to be able to see it.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of had to sit there and power it out. But
Yeah.
the only other show that I've been watching consistently would be The Orville. Just because it's easier for me to get everybody else in my apartment on board to watch it.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like a pseudo, like, getting people back into it. And my roommate kind of asked, so this is basically what Star Trek is, except for, like, a bigger budget, right? And I was like, yeah. It's like, you know, you got to get in. You got to get in the front door, and then you can shove it all in later.
Yeah.
And, like, really get them on board.
Yeah.
So I've been just doing that, but I haven't gone back to see any classic Trek yet.
Yep. Yeah, we kind of took a pretty deep dive. Let's see. I have any other thoughts?
Oh, something I wanted to ask is, how do you feel about the structure of the season? In terms of, we're going to get, I think it's 6 or 7 episodes, and then we're going to have a break until January.
Yeah. That's actually, I think that's normal for actually modern television, as I kind of remember. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't mind it. I think, as you know, Bill can definitely attest to this. It kind of lengthens the time that we actually get Trek, but it doesn't. It's still the same, but it feels longer. Because I feel like if they were to just put it all up, as one season on Netflix or something, that, you know, all of, you know, our diehard Trek fans would just take weeks off and just binge the crap out of it, and then it would be all over. So I think it definitely savors it, and it makes it feel more meaningful than just if they were just to, you know, do a stockpile dump. So I'm kind of happy they are doing a break, because it definitely allows me to, you know, catch my breath, maybe watch some Enterprise, and then kind of come back with, you know, a new, I can see it in a different light with a break. So, what do you think of the structure?
Yeah, I totally agree with it, doing the week-by-week basis, because that's something I noticed about the Marvel shows like Daredevil and Defenders, that when they get all dropped at once, they're talked about for a weekend and then you forget about it. Whereas when it's week by week, you get people talking about it, you get people discussing it, there's a reason to keep coming back.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'll be interested to see how it works, because we'll only have seen 6 hours of Discovery when it's gone again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll just be interested to see how the story pans out. If it ends on a big cliffhanger, or what's going on. Because I don't feel like it's not really a lot. At least I feel, for, you know, such a new show. But I don't have a clue what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I just think it'll be kind of interesting, because then we'll wait probably like 2 years for season 2, most likely. So it'll be this, and then it'll be nothing for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think especially because, like, we're used to such long seasons, watching past Trek, I think it's definitely new for us to have just 15 episodes as opposed to, like, 20s. So we'll see how that goes.
Which was bumped up from the original 13. So that made me wonder, did they come up with 2 standalone stories, or did they want to stretch out the amount of episodes that they had?
Yeah.
Or what? But overall, I mean, I'm definitely on board with how things are going, much more so than the pilot, which was, you know, it was interesting, but it was like, where's this going?
Yeah, but Jordan, you bring up a good point. How long is it going to take them to finish season 2?
I mean, I don't think they even have any story ideas yet.
Yeah.
I remember, I think when this pilot was premiering, Alex Kurtzman said that they had finished filming the season finale.
Okay.
So the footage exists, and he said that they finished filming that, and then they were editing episode 5, maybe? Or 6, or something like that?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see their timeline. So I see definitely why they want to break,
Yeah.
but I mean, it doesn't. It's a long enough break that as a fan, you're like just grabbing on, wanting more. But then it doesn't seem long enough to make any real changes. If there was anything where it's like, okay, fans responded to this character, let's give them another scene
Yeah.
or something like that. Unless they want to change the VFX or the special effects, which they did, between multiple things.
Yeah.
But the one worry that I had with Discovery, um, knowing what Brian Fuller wanted to do with it, he wanted to do an anthology. This was really like one idea, like this was a one season idea,
Mhm.
and afterwards, what are they gonna do? And so
Yeah.
I don't, because it's like, okay, we've got this really tragic character, and it's gonna be really tense and dramatic. But then once this is over, what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
They can't do this again with the Romulans, canon wise, but also you can't do the same thing again.
Yeah.
So they'd have to come up with, and they can't, you can't do a Zindia, you can't do another big bad guy like alien race arc because you
Yeah.
just did that.
Mhm.
They've got to find something to do, and I don't know if Discovery will suffer from that because that would be something they have to wholly come up with on their own. Where okay,
Yeah.
we've got to come up with a multi-season arc that isn't this, that's unique, and whatever. Because here they basically had an idea that they were able to stretch, like the ball was already rolling.
Yeah.
So that's just a concern I have just out of general don't know because they don't know.
Yeah, I'm concerned because like people aren't gonna want to invest. They're not gonna want to invest like emotionally into these characters because after the season they're just gonna see you later. That's done. You guys are done. Let's get new actors in here to start season 2. So I'm curious because like at the same time it's like okay if they're gonna do the anthology idea then that's gonna take more time like it. I mean, once they're done, in 2018, they won't be back to maybe, I don't know, 2019 or I don't know. I'm just curious
Mm-hmm.
to see what happens.
Because also we don't know what the status quo is. At the end of this, is it going to be, Michael Burnham is the captain? Well, that doesn't make sense, especially with what they're setting up now.
Yeah.
Unless she does something really amazing that gets them to, reverse a court martial and reinstate her as a captain,
Yeah.
which I don't think many people would really appreciate.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, they know what they're doing more than I do,
Yeah.
but it's just something that I find kind of really interesting that, okay, now we have, like, it's not like, TNG where it's like, okay, we can write new episodes, or Deep Space Nine where it's like, well, we can take this in this direction because we know as fans what's going on.
Yeah.
But here, we won't know until the very end, and at the very end, who knows what's going to happen. So.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, that's curious. That's an interesting thought because like, is this gonna be is this a 7-season crew or is this just gonna be 2 seasons or whatever?
Yeah, and then that's something else I thought about is since they're 10 years, if you do, I mean, first off, I don't know how many seasons they want to do. Game of Thrones is going to be 8 seasons, so I guess that's something you could think about doing.
Mm-hmm.
But at 8 seasons, that means that you're 2 years before TOS. So everybody who complains about canon, now it's like, it's got to be there. Like, you can't just say, oh, and then this summer we changed everything.
Yeah.
And now it all looks like this.
Yeah.
And then you kind of wonder, okay, then they're going to have to start going into TOS-y kind of things. They've got to really hardcore set things up for how they're going.
Yeah.
So, and then also I just don't know what their marketing idea is. Or if it's just, okay, we're just going to do Discovery and then that's going to be it. And then we're done. And, okay, we'll make a new show, but then you can't connect it to Discovery because then it would run into TOS and then it would have to look exactly the same. Or what, just... Who knows? But I mean, that's kind of the fun of it, not knowing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because to me, if you're gonna name a show Discovery, I feel like you gotta keep the Discovery in it.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess we'll see.
But yeah, I mean, if there's anybody in the comment section who has anything to add, please, because I mean, it's just something that I don't see a lot of people really wondering about because we're also caught up in season 1.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like they have, and Deep Space Nine didn't start with the idea of the Dominion War.
No.
and that's something that came on.
Yeah.
But that's not something they can do now because that would be really tiresome if it's, oh, the Federation's at war again and
Yeah.
we're losing. Like,
Yeah.
that, it's got, and then when you go on to a big exploration arc, that's something I've never seen done. Voyager kind of, but there's never been a a multi-episode exploration arc
Mhm.
where it's like they go out and they do something and they get wrapped up into this or whatever.
Yeah.
It's always been some sort of a conflict arc.
Yeah.
So that's something that they could maybe try, but who knows?
Mhm. Yeah, because I think I'm just worried that they're kind of just focused too much on, let's just get it done. We gotta get this first season. But I feel like, yeah, definitely, shoot for having a great first season. But also, like, I feel like you gotta plan out your show. You gotta plan out. I'm guessing they have maybe ideas, but that's what I'm most worried about. So we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, I only have high hopes.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, if CBS wants it to do well, then that's good, and that means that they're gonna put the right foot forwards. So. And I don't think there's ever been an answer to when Nicholas Meyer said he was working on some other Star Trek project. I don't think there's ever been an answer to what that was. So maybe there's something there, maybe there isn't. Most likely not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, if I was CBS, the first thing I'd want to do is do a big, expanded universe where you have multiple shows going on at the same time. Because I'm sure it'll be. I mean, I know what I'm going to do is, I think if they do 6 episodes and then the break, I can cancel my All Access subscription at the end of this month to save money. So it's going to be like, subscribers went up, and then they went down, and then when Star Trek comes, they'll go up, and then when it's done, it'll go down. So I hope they're looking at that and saying, well, what if we space it out? So for mid-season finale starts, and then a new season starts, and then it kind of like goes on, and there's more going on. So that way they can, you can do, I don't know, something else. But who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, Bill's saying that someone has to give the All Access pitch in my absence.
Yeah, that actually, funny story about that. I got the 1 week free thing, and then I was like, okay, this is good, but whatever. And then by the time I went to go check it, All Access had already pulled $6 or whatever out of my account, and I missed it. So I was like, well, I guess I'm paying for All Access for this month.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah. That's how they get you.
yeah.
It's the trials.
Although at least the commercial structure is a little bit better than our cable TV. Watching that pilot was impossible because there were so many commercials. And it's like, it's one thing to double dip, but it's like, I don't mind if there was 5 minutes of commercials before and then I got to see the whole episode uninterrupted.
Yeah.
But it's difficult to talk about how we're doing Star Trek and where our aim is HBO and whatever. And then you sit there and you watch it and it's not an hour of pure content. It's like, and then it's commercial break, and then it's a commercial break, and it's like, oh my gosh. It's like, this is the one aspect of classic Trek that I don't think anybody liked.
What kind of commercials did they have on there? Because Adam's saying, like, I find it funny that there was a Hulu ad on All Access.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was like I don't remember if it was 30 seconds or whatever, but it was just an ad for like another show. I was like, what's going on here? I'm like, I can't buy all of these.
Yeah. That's funny though.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm just really glad with discovering that Star Trek's getting back into the mainstream. And it's like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's more pervasive, and it's not like it went anywhere, but it's coming back.
I'm curious to see how it ages because, like, it's so relevant right now. Like, even like people that don't watch Star Trek or know Star Trek, like at work, they're talking about it and stuff. So, they kind of do that with like the movies and stuff. But like, how long is it gonna stick around? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah, because I mean that's the biggest thing that I support is that classic Trek was one era, and so I think of it as we're starting a new era. in a way where it's like, okay, do you want to go back and watch the old stuff, or do you want to watch the old new stuff, or do you want to watch the new stuff, or
Yeah.
what? Because I mean, Star Trek will be around. Where's it going to be in the next 50 years,
Who
and
knows?
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's some real long planning. I don't think Les Moons is thinking about the 50-year timeline of Star Trek,
Um,
the 100-year anniversary.
I'm curious to see how these, if I'm guessing Discovery will bring in new fans, obviously. Most New Trek does, especially with the Kelvin timelines, and the product of that. But I'm curious to see how Discovery fans react to the old canon that we know and love. That's how so different it is. Like I feel like there should be a warning, like this isn't like Discovery. It's yeah.
Well, I mean, if you wanted to get somebody into it, you've always got season 3 of Enterprise, season 4, the tail end of Deep Space Nine, First Contact. So you've got some ways to get them into it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah, I think this has more watchability than those. I don't know, for some reason. I don't know.
Although the biggest thing I'd say is, if you're a new fan watching it, are you somebody who has or hasn't seen Battlestar Galactica yet? Where if this was like the first kind of futuristic sci-fi that's really serious and dark going on, then I'm sure how you could like Discovery. But if you're somebody who's, into that, then I feel like you'd go to Battlestar Galactica before you'd ever think about looking at another Star Trek show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it just kind of depends on the fan. Yeah.
Because I assume if you're in some sort of a significant relationship and you're introducing them through Discovery, you'll force them to watch old Trek no matter what. So it doesn't really matter what happens. Like, you're just going to sit there and say, oh, by the way, you need to watch this with me. I recently took my girlfriend to watch the re-showing of Star Trek 2. I just kind of forced her to sit there through it. Yeah, well, her dad liked it, so she knew of Star Trek, and she knew sort of what it was about.
Yeah.
So it wasn't completely foreign.
Yeah.
And then I've been having her watch Discovery with me.
Yeah.
So it's been working, and it's been keeping her engaged, and she's been interested in it. So it's definitely doing its job.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, I guess you're right that it has that balance where it appeals to the wider audience, but it also gives little tidbits and little goodies for the hardcore fans. Yeah. If you guys have any last questions, start winding down the stream. I'm sure Jordan wants to go to bed, and I
have a lab report I have to fix up and submit. So
okay.
I'm pulling late hours here, but I feel like I'm statements. I've got some organic chemistry. I've got to do some codes. I've got to find the error. I've got to bring my thing up, swipe through, pull it open. They still use a Microsoft Windows on the Discovery.
Oh, nice. Oh, they do. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I guess Jordan, want to thank you for jumping on here, filling in for Bill. You did an awesome job. I'm sure, Bill has the same. Wants to make the same statement. So we're happy that you came on and kind of joined us.
Anytime I can help out the crew, I'll get a transfer order put in.
Yeah.
I'll come on over to help out.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys know the drill. The discussion doesn't have to stop here on the YouTube channel. Definitely come over to Bill or I's Twitter page. We've got a Facebook page also. Not much action going on there, but hopefully soon. And if you want to talk to Jordan, I'm sure you can track him down on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter.
Yep. But yeah, we'll be returning next week to talk about episode 4. So I want to thank all you guys for coming in, joining in. Thank you, Jordan, again. See you guys next weekend.
Take care, everybody.